Like many people, I struggle to live in the present. Yeah, that's the only thing that matters because the past is the past and the future, it's in the future, so who cares? We can only enjoy and live what's happening in the present. So if we really want to enjoy our lives better, we really need to focus to living in the present. And I have noticed that many times I'm just ruminating about the past or ruminating about the future, or my mind is somewhere else that I cannot just focus on being here in the present. And this is, first of all, makes you more happy because it's the only time and place you can enjoy is the present. It also helps you better at work because you can focus and you can do your job better. As you focus and you try to be there, you can actually do better things. And also in your relationships. I mean, have you talked with someone which is he or she is just not paying attention because he's thinking about something else? It's not attractive. It's not fun. The same with you. You may be sometimes you're just thinking about something else that you cannot focus on what you're doing. So I now putting a lot of effort in the last weeks and months, and I'm gonna share what's part of my journey. I'm not saying I'm an expert, not saying I'm doing it well. I'm just saying what I'm gonna do, applying things like philosophy, a little bit of psychology, science, to be able to put myself more in the present and enjoy life better and bring all the benefits. So I have identified certain areas and how to measure them to see how better I'm doing, because the idea is not just say, okay, how I'm right now, but to see, okay, maybe in a few weeks I'm doing better in this specific scenario. So the first one is attention and awareness, and is the ability to focus on the current task without distraction. And this is, for example, you're working, and how many times I don't know, you're in the computer doing your work for your job or studying, and then you're checking your phone. That means you are thinking about whatever text, whatever, that puts you out of the present moment, which is you doing your work. And how can you measure it? Can I describe what is happening around me right now without my mind drifting? So if you can focus on a specific job, a specific task for, let's say, 20 minutes, half an hour, without your mind thinking, then it means I'm improving. So this is one way I'm measuring is when I have a task. I try to put a little bit of a timer of myself. This is also called the Pomodoro technique, where you work for chunks of 20 minutes, half an hour. But also for me is to say, okay, how much I can last without I get the urge of checking my phone, for example. And I don't do it because you can get the urge and then you don't do it. You start pushing yourself less into this, let's say, dopamine cycle. And what are my plans to improve in these things? One, and it's the most very useful, and for me it's super useful, is daily meditation. Sometimes I do 5, sometimes I do 10 minutes, sometimes I do half an hour, or sometimes even longer. I have done even 2-hour meditation, and it really brings me more into reality, really more aware of my body and my thoughts. So I'm back. For example, breathing techniques. And one breathing technique, even though sometimes it's a little bit boring, but it helps me relax and center myself, is when you do this box technique, and it's very easy. You start, for example, inhaling for 4 seconds, then you hold for 4 seconds again, then you exhale for 4 seconds, and then you hold again for 4 seconds. And you can do that many times, many of these cycles, and you can make it longer for 3 or maybe 6 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on your own. But it really helps me, at least me, to bring me a little bit more calm, a little bit more into the present moment. And if I do this in the mornings or in the evenings, it does feel like an effect for the rest of my day or my week that I'm being more into being aware of what I'm doing instead of trying to be always super stimulated. Other thing I'm doing for this specific attention and awareness is stretching. I mean, if you practice yoga or Pilates or anything similar, it's a lot about just basically stretching your body and being aware of all your muscles and soft tissue. And for me, when I do this, I try to combine it a little bit with meditation. I feel like, okay, now I'm feeling my body. Where are my muscles? Where I'm stretching? What I am doing? And it's bring my awareness back into this reality. And I've been doing more stretching. I mean, I didn't do that often, but the last, I don't know, a month, I've been doing it more often. First of all, I'm getting more elastic, which is really good for many things. And second, I feel like my body is feeling a little bit more better, like the flow of energy, whatever you way and say it, it comes and feels better in that sense. The next point is physical sensory engagement. And this is about awareness of bodily sensations such as breath, sounds, smells, and sights in real time. So before I was talking about the awareness of your body, it's just this sensation, how you feel and feeling present. Think about also your senses. You hear, you smell, you taste, and you see things. You hear as well, and your touch. And what is important here is that you don't overstimulate your senses. I mean, now everyone, when they're eating food alone, for example, you're watching a video. I think most people are hearing a podcast, watching a video, texting while eating. So you're not really tasting the food anymore. How many times you really don't even know how the food you had in front of you tasted because you were all the time texting or you were watching a video and you didn't even pay attention to the video. So we have this overstimulation of our senses, which is putting us out of the experiences. And we're not, at least in my opinion, not enjoying much of it. And I'm trying to change that. The part of my journey is, okay, what can I do? Do I notice how my body feels and how my breath flows without judgment? So if I'm eating, do I feel my breath? Do I feel the food I'm eating? Just that. And ways of putting this into practice is I'm not taking my phone anymore when I eat alone. I mean, I tried from, let's say 10 meals, 20 meals that I have alone during the week. At least I do have to make 18 that I have no my phone. Sometimes I want to watch a video, something important, okay, something new, cool. But I try to do most of the time not to have anything of that next to me. So I can really enjoy the food, so I can be really present, so I can be bored again. I want to be bored. And part of being bored is that your mind starts to relax and start coming back in the present, which for me now is very important because the more present I am, the more happy and the better my life in many ways. This can also go with body scan meditations that are also very useful. If you're able to meditate, and not just a normal meditation, but you're scanning your body, let's say with a light. And this actually helps healing. Some people say, okay, I have a headache or I have a back pain, and I imagine a light going into this area of my body and I feel like relief. So the power of the mind is very strong. And I also sometimes do this now when I'm meditating, is to just focus on all the parts of my body and imagine this light crossing it so I can really feel, okay, look, this is really nice. This is part of me. The next point is about emotional regulation. And it's the ability to notice and accept emotions without being overwhelmed. And for me, I always thought that I was someone that can control his emotions very easily and not to get very angry, not to get very sad, or even not to get super excited because then you also don't think properly. And this is not true. Like, you think you're good until you're pushed to the limit and then you see, oh shit, okay, this, I was not prepared for that. And I'm not saying I'm bad, I'm not saying I'm someone that cannot control their emotions, but I mean, like everyone, sometimes we're just taking out of our ground. You push when you're out of balance and you're swinging to one direction. And that happened to me. That happened to me a couple of times in my life. It happened to me not so long ago. And you realize, okay, why I was swinging to these emotions when I thought to myself that I was not going to be. And one way I noticed is that, at least for me, I have to see that emotions are not me. And I always knew that, but sometimes you're going to forget about it. You're not your emotions. Emotions come and go. It's like when you're meditating. When you're meditating, you see that your thoughts come and they go. And you allow them to go. And you can do the same with your emotions. While you're meditating, you feel, I don't know, anger, and you cross to you accept it, you live it, you feel it, and you let it go. You're not attached to this emotion. It's not you. And this helps to allow me not to ruminate about the past. I mean, maybe for you, you had a traumatic event, maybe you had a breakup, maybe you had some pain or something that happened to you at your work or with friends or whatever's happening. I mean, for me, it was, a bit of an event that I had in my life, a bit traumatic. And every time I remember these things, I will feel like, okay, I have a negative emotion about this. I will feel a little bit sad and sometimes will be angry. And what I realized is that I can, even through meditation, I can detach the emotion from the memory. So the memory will still come. The thought of the memory will still come, but I have no emotion anymore attached to that. And this is really powerful because Memories without emotions, they become wisdom. If you can remember something and you learn about it, and you don't have an emotional reaction to that, then you can actually see and learn what's important from that, what you did right, what you did wrong, and then use it for yourself for the future. But it's hard. It takes time, and it also takes a lot of like going deep into your own conscious and say, okay, for now on, these emotions and this, and you can do it through meditation. You go really deep, you get into this moment, and you need long meditations for that. When you go inside you say, okay, this memory and this emotions are no longer attached. They're just done. And it does works. It does works. So if you then not thinking about, because this is the past emotion, right? This is something in the past. You're no longer feeling emotions about the past. And you also thinking, okay, whatever happened in the future doesn't have to be linked to a specific emotion. You're allowed to feel the emotions of the present. And then you're really more mindful about your own emotions. You can regulate yourself, because then whatever happened in the past, you don't care. Whatever happened in the future, you don't care. You're just living in the present. So you're not attached to outcomes. You're not attached to things. And your emotions are just what you're experiencing. And you experience it in a very healthy way, where you do whatever you want to do. And things you can do this is, of course, do these meditations to stop ruminating about past events, past relationships, maybe a breakup. Also, limiting my use of social media. I mean, everyone sometimes open Instagram or Facebook or whatever you use just to see what's happening, but you don't care. But then you see something, maybe you see someone that remind you about this breakup you had, and then, or you still have this person on social media, and then you're okay, now I'm feeling this again. You try to avoid this. Try to completely avoid this. Maybe even, do what you need to do so you don't see these pictures. And also politics as well, because that triggers a lot of emotion. You cannot really do anything about politics. You cannot really do anything about the wars that are happening in this world. Why would you even see them? If you could really change it, then do something. But if you can't, which the majority of us cannot do, then who cares? Not who cares, but like, it's just damaging you, and you're not really helping the people who are suffering. Also with WhatsApp and opening chats, this is about also what I was talking with the first point. You try to limit the amount of time you open your cell phone and the amount of time that you invest in giving this attention away. So, because then you're thinking, okay, someone's gonna text me. So you're thinking about the future, about text you're waiting, and you're not living in the present. And then you start feeling emotion, a little bit anxious about the future. So limit as well that. Next, point number 4, ruminate or reduce mental time travel. And this comes along with all the other points, is how often I ruminate about the past or worry about the future. And just put it very clear. If you ruminate about the past, it can give you a lot of, let's say, depressive symptoms. It's about thinking about the past, something that you didn't like, something that didn't work well for you, someone that is no longer in your life. It can give you this depressive of sadness, of learned helplessness, that you don't feel things are good for you anymore. And this is about that. Also, if you're thinking about the future, this is what creates your anxiety. If you always think, okay, this is what's going to happen, if I do this, then this could happen, and you're always afraid or fear that something might happen to you, this is ruminating about the future, and this is what makes us anxious. And sometimes, if you really see it logically, that anxiety is the fear of the future, then you really say, okay, if I stop caring about the future and I only live in the present, I will be less anxious. And if I stop caring about the past, I will be less or not at all depressed. I will not have any depressing feelings. And for me, like, luckily I never had these things of being like very attached about these events in the past, but I will be a little bit anxious about the future. I was like, okay, and for little things, for really stupid things for me, like sometimes I would be anxious if I'll just give you one very, let's say, trivial example, of which you leave your house and you think you leave the oven on. And giving me anxiety that I will double check hundreds of times and think, okay, what's happening in the future? Maybe I did something wrong here. And I would be like, why I'm caring too much about this. Of course, you don't want to make your house burn or whatever, but like most of the time, these fears in the future, they're just fears. They will never happen. Like the chance that you leave the fire on and you leave the oven on is really low. And you probably check already when you were cooking. So you have to trust yourself. And you have to trust yourself and trust the universe that things are just gonna work well. And something I'm doing for this is I have to remind myself that the past is the past and I cannot change it, so I cannot do anything. And the future, it's not there yet, so when it comes, I will deal with it. I start journaling. I journal. This is really important. There's a lot of research about how journaling is so important. I journal about what I did right, what I did wrong, and I write about my experiences, what I felt. And then you read it again, maybe a few weeks, months, or years later, and you say, okay, shit, this is good. Like, I've been journaling for years, but now I'm doing more often and putting a little bit more specific prompts, which we can talk about that later. And since this last month, what I'm focusing more, okay, I want to live in the present, journal with an intention. Journal with an intention of what you were thinking in the past that you don't want to talk anymore, you don't want to think about anymore, and why were you anxious about the future. And you say, okay, shit, when I write it down, it's make nonsense to even care about it. Because you put it logically and you put it in words, it makes way more sense. The next one is getting into a flow state. And I talked about flow before. Flow is basically when you're focused on a task and you lose track of time. And you're just working and doing it and you can focus and you can achieve something. And you don't even care about the time, you don't care about anything else, about distraction, you're just completely focused on what that is. And usually there's different motivations that make us get into this flow state. And I did a video about it. But many times it's about how much we care about the task. I mean, if we have a deadline for the next day, sometimes the pressure is so high that we care a lot. So we get into this flow and we finish the work. Sometimes for example, flow state is only about work, but it could also be when you do sports, this like running high, for example. You're just running and you don't care anymore because you're so motivated about the run that you just lose track of time of anything else and you can just focus on the run. So it's really a very, let's say, for me, it's happy moment, cool moments when you can enter the flow state for things you do. Also, for example, with people you hang out. Let's say you hang out with your best friend or you hang out with your girlfriend. You're so into this task of just experiencing the moment that you forget about time, you forget about everything else. And it's so nice. You even see, okay, you spend 4 hours with this person and you check, you didn't even notice the time, you didn't even think about checking your phone. And it's because you were enjoying the moment. And imagine, instead of just having flow moments, we could have a flow life. So our whole life, we are just living, we're just so focused on whatever we're doing, even if it's a very small task to something big. We're just so focused that we don't care about time. We're just even in the present. How happy and how rewarding and how, let's say, successful we would be, to be honest, if we could have a flow life. And of course, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of training on your mind. All the things I've talked today, really helpful. One way to put it down, and at least this is something I've been trying, is to really trick my mind a little bit. If I'm doing a task, let's say something as boring as cleaning, I really try to eliminate all distractions and really say, okay, today I'm going to be the best cleaner, the best person cleaning. I put my passion, my energy into cleaning. And say, I'm going to do it nice, I'm going to do it good, I'm going to do it in a good amount of time, I'm going to do it well. And then I go into this task and it's helping me a little bit. At least it's helping me that I feel, okay, I did it now, it's finished, and I really enjoy it, even though it's something that, who cares, you need to do it. And yeah, this is, at least for me, it's been very, very useful to get into this. Now, the next one is intentional action. Acting consciously versus running on autopilot. Then how can you measure this? Are my actions value-driven or reactive? Do I pause before acting? I think acting consciously or unconsciously. We think we're always conscious of our action, but we're not. And I noticed that as well. You react to people many times by condition. You're conditioned to react certain way with people. Sometimes for good things, for a good reason. Our mind cannot be always so conscious. I mean, if you see someone in the street and the person smiles to you, you smile back. If someone is polite, you're polite back. This is good things. This is, let's say, this autopilot part being good, because it's just very small interactions. But sometimes this autopilot, you just go to other parts of our life, which move from just being, let's say, polite or being, let's say, social, acceptable, to just being not real or ungenuine. And we need to be consciously aware of this to be able to stop it. There was this book of Thinking Fast and Slow from Daniel Kahneman, where he says our brain have two, let's say, mechanisms. Actually, acting very slow, very fast, and being able to find answers quickly to situations, which is very important, doesn't use too much energy. And our slow brain thinking, which is like the very deep processing where we stop and think and we put our biases away to really be able to analyze situations and get really good answers or solutions to things. And I think this also translates to our day-to-day relationships. If we are conditioned in a way to interact with people, sometimes we forget about that the person we're talking is different. So if you're used to say, okay, if I want to meet a girl, and at least for many guys happens, I've done myself, I think any guys have done it, is that you think, okay, girls like these things. Girls like a guy that is like this, like this, like this, and they like to be, they might like to do, I don't know, they like about concerts, they like, I don't know, it's a stupid example, but like maybe they like a specific artist. And you say you want to talk about this artist, and then you start trying to bring things from your life that you think will be attracting for them. Maybe you say, okay, I have this job, I live here, I have achieved this, I have traveled this place. So you try to show a little bit of your value. And sometimes we do this, guys, unconsciously, and women as well do it in a different way. They also think that they have done, it doesn't come up in the conversation naturally, but they just want to show that they have done things. And this happens to everyone. Sometimes people immediately recognize and say, okay, this person is just showing off. And most of us don't try to show off. It's not even like we go to this point, but like unconsciously, the person we're talking is feeling like, okay, why this person is saying this? It doesn't fit into the situation, into the reality, if you are aware of this. And maybe you also feel with someone that you start talking and you feel like, okay, this is not flowing naturally. And it's because we're not being present. We're running autopilot. We want to relate to this person, we want to connect, but instead of really being in the present, paying attention, make things to flow naturally, the conversation to flow naturally, to get to know the other person, we're getting in the autopilot mode. We start to think, okay, if I say this, I get points with this person, or then he will like me more. And then you forget about who is this person in front of you. And you need to be focused on that. And then with this, people like you more. Because if you're real, yourself, you're paying attention, you are there, present, then you don't have to prove anything. You don't care about your past, about things you have done. You don't care about the future things you're going to achieve or you're going to do. You're really focusing on the present mode, trying to connect with this person. And if these things happen to talk about things that are value for you or whatever, then it's good. But it has to come naturally. And this comes by ourselves of, okay, I don't want to run autopilot. I don't want to go through the same conversation patterns I always do, where I try to get specific information from this person or whatever, or I want them to know this specific from me. I really just bring here, and whatever comes. And usually, at least now that I do this, it's like I'm really aware of all my patterns where I will running autopilot because I'm socially conditioned to be polite or to be nice or to do certain things. You feel, okay, now I'm not doing this. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to pay attention to you. I'm listening to you. And I'm always been a good listener, but now I'm even way more aware, way more mindful. Way better. Like, I feel like it's just, first of all, less energy for me, even though you're consciously and you use less energy because you're not trying, you're just there. And second is like, yeah, relationships are better in this way, and people will feel it. And when you feel people that are not real, you feel it immediately, and you can either stop and say, okay, this is not what I want, but then you're really honest on what do you want to achieve, and you stop caring about impressing the other person, but you're really trying to enjoy the present moment with this person, thinking, okay, maybe I will see this person again or I don't, but at least I was trying to be here and enjoy the present moment. And at least for me, it's just been a big game changer. Number 7 is reduce multitasking. It's focusing on one task at a time. How often do I multitask, for example? How can you measure that? Now we have so much to do, so much to learn, so many things that we listen to a podcast while we work in the computer, and then we don't remember what the podcast said, and we don't remember what we work, or we just take longer to do a job. So now I'm trying to do one task at a time. From just eating, for example, not listening to a podcast. If I'm working on the computer, try not to listen to anything, music or whatever. If I'm running, for example, I go for a run, I don't take my headphones now. I just try to enjoy the wind, the feelings, the boredness of running, and trying to feel my body. And this really helped me to bring more into the situation and be better. I mean, when I'm at the gym, I'm not listening to anything. I feel I'm better. I achieve more in the gym. I think I push myself harder because I'm not listening to anything. I take less time between sets. Or when I'm running, I can push myself harder because I'm just focusing on my body and myself and get to know Andres, just myself. And the last one, and it's all about that, is to be present in your relationships. Emotionally and mentally being there for others. And a ways to measure is, how do you feel when you interact with people? How do you think people feel about you? Can you recall conversations? Or can you reflect on the quality of the communication or the connection you had with someone? And this is about being present. The best thing you can do to make someone to like you is to be present. And to be present, you have to be real. You have to love yourself. You cannot. That's something I realized, is that the more you love yourself, the more you accept yourself, all the parts of your life, the more you can be in the present. Because if you want to hide something from your part of you, and you don't want someone else to know, you will be thinking about, okay, what do I say? What do I say? What should I not say? Because I don't want them to know this part of me. So you're not being completely real. You're just trying to hide the part of you. You say, to be honest, you have to don't give a fuck. There's things in your life you cannot change. That's the way you are. Maybe you can improve them or be better, but like in the present moment, you are what you are. Whatever you have in that moment, whatever way of your personality that you are, is what you are. And if you always think about hiding these parts, then you're not completely present because your mind is thinking about how to prevent the other person to get to know that, or you want to show something of your part also to show off, for example, then you forget about being present. So if you want to be better connections, is accept yourself, love yourself. Every part of me is what it is. That I can be real. Doesn't mean that you show the best of yourself by being real, of who you are, because you cannot change it. You cannot change who you are, and you're genuine. And then to say, okay, I don't care. I am who I am. If you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, you don't like me. There, we might polarize in that sense. Some people will like me, some people who don't like me, but at least I'm going to try to connect. And at least for me, there will be people that they don't like you. You have to accept that you will not be liked by everyone. But there will be people like you more by you being yourself, because say, oh shit, this person is genuine. I feel like it's different. This person is not trying anything. It's not trying to get me to act a certain way. This person has just been there. It's just showing off as he or she really is. And it's very attractive. Also, for when I meet people like that, I meet people that they're not trying to engage with you in a certain way to get something from you. It's really attractive, it's really magnetic, because you being present. And to be present, you need to love yourself. You need to be able to accept yourself. That makes you more confident, because then you don't care what people think about this part of you. And then you are in the present mode. And then you are, okay, this is me and I'm happy about me. And I don't care if you like me or not. I'm going to be my best person in this present moment with you. And if you don't like it, then it's good. And if you like it, it's perfect. Then we can continue. And yeah, this is the things I'm practicing right now, putting this into practice in my life, to be more present, to improve my quality of my work, my life, my happiness, my well-being, my emotions, my relationships with friends, family, partners, whatever, and colleagues, work colleagues, just by being present. And give it a try. Let me know how you are trying to be present, how you are working on that. And if anything that I said relates to you of being more mindful about situations. Yep. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.